Investigator Jim DeFede has been working this story since it broke, and he joins us now live. And Jim, what are you hearing in terms of the investigation into what caused the collapse? Because that's the big question. Why did this happen?
Yeah, there isn't a lot new. This investigation is going to take some time. All the things that we've been reporting on up till now still hold true, which is that there's a lot of focus on what was taking place on the underside of that building. Whatever brought this building down almost certainly occurred underneath the building. Saltwater intrusion, some problems related to the structural elements there. As we reported previously, and there's been additional reporting by other news outlets that support this. The building was going through its 40-year recertification, but there was nothing in the inspections related to that suggested the type of repairs that would be needed, that those repairs were so imminent, so urgent, that they needed to stave off the possibility of the building collapse. They were routine in many ways. So we're still looking at exactly what took place, and again, I think we're going to be talking a lot about the effects of salt water on concrete and the ramifications that may have for other buildings up and down Miami Beach.
And Jim, I know we've done some reporting on some speculation and some red flags that were raised by some engineering experts dating back several years about the integrity of that building and sort of the sinking it was doing, for lack of a better term. They have a scientific way of explaining it, but what more can you tell us about that and those studies that had been done over years prior to this happening?
Sure, there was a study that was done by a professor at FIU using aerial satellite technology that sort of examined, the effect of what happens when you build these structures. And it wasn't just on this single hotel, or condominium. It was on a series of buildings. When you build it on a sandbar, which is also essentially a marsh as well, that there is something that's called settling, and it was decreasing at about 2 millimeters a year. Now, even though folks who put out that report said that in and of itself would not have caused the building to collapse, but again, I think that if you start thinking of it in terms of a series of events, a series of problems, if you had this issue where the hotel or the condominium, was settling about 2 millimeters a year, and you had saltwater intrusion underneath it, weakening the concrete, weakening the steel rebar that was holding that building up, then those things colliding together could lead to where we eventually get to. But again, we're not going to have an answer for that for months to come. And right now, the focus is on the rescue efforts, but very soon they'll likely turn to recovery, because all indications is that the folks who are working that scene are not optimistic about finding additional people and pulling them out of there. This is a very grave situation. It's been described to me in very graphic details. One of the questions I had is, why haven't we seen more bodies being recovered? We've only know about 4 bodies that have been recovered from the pile, and not to get too specific, but we're not going to see intact bodies. That the nature of this collapse is so startling and so sudden that it's going to take DNA samples to be able to identify individuals.
Wow. Jim, as you know, there are many condo towers that dot the coastline here in Florida, and I'd imagine that a lot of people are wondering about the safety of their buildings. So what about that? What does this mean for other buildings in our community?
I think back to Hurricane Andrew. When Hurricane Andrew caused so much devastation here in South Florida, we reevaluated the building codes and did a lot with regard to understanding what took place. I think that you're going to see something very similar come out of this tragedy. This has the potential to be the largest loss of life in Florida in a very, very long time, if not forever. Not since, I think, the floods around Lake Okeechobee, back at the turn of the century. But I think I've talked to one former official who said that almost certainly what you're going to see is you're going to see legislation come out of this. There's going to be not just an investigation by the Miami-Dade Police Department, but there will likely be a panel erected by the state legislature to look into whether or not building codes need to be updated. Certainly Miami-Dade will do that. And I also think you're going to see maybe even a task force being created to look at some of the older buildings up and down Miami Beach and to see whether or not there are issues that need to be found out sooner than later and not just wait 40 years.
Jim DeFede, thank you so much. So important to look into these issues now, so in order to prevent any future tragedies. Thanks again, Jim.
Thank you, Jim.